Welcome back, rum fans. My name's Steve the Barman, and I'm just here to help you on your rum journey by mainly focusing on rums and from time to time spiced and flavoured rums, but mainly proper rums under £50. We don't want to talk about the more expensive stuff. Yes, I fully appreciate the expensive stuff is going to taste better, but I'm more focused on that entry level, helping you on your starter journey, if you like, or taking you up a notch from spiced rums, if you like. So that's what we're all about here today. Appleton 8-year-olds. I'm going to call this, I've got two ways for this call this, either the forgotten about rum or the overlooked rum. Because for me, for years, I just totally overlooked it. Totally not even in my kind of peripherals, if you like. We have obviously got the Appleton Signature, which is quite cheap, and I'm on Master of Malt prices here, logged out, £22.67, so quite cheap, decent, all right, not going to set the world on fire, but it's quite decent. And then we've obviously got the Appleton 12-year-old here, which goes up a notch, £38 roughly. So, you know, I've kind of never really paid too much attention to the 8-year-old. So it's a pretty new rum to me, as in the last sort of 6 months or so. I've never had this rum. I don't know how long I've had it, to be fair, but I've never had this rum before then. Not even on tastings, I don't think. So really, really new to me. So what can I tell you about the rum? I think the only thing I can really tell you, I don't want to get into too much of brand stories. Appleton, they're huge. You can go and find out whatever you want about Appleton. But just to kind of tip a nod, this is 43% ABV. The only other interesting factor I kind of want to tell you about Appleton, Jamaican rum, obviously. Sorry if you hadn't realised that, but Jamaican rum. The only thing I want to say, they don't use dunder. They don't use dunder pits or dunder in their rums. They're kind of like a more, as you would expect from other rum producing countries like Barbados, like Central America, like St. Lucia, like Trinidad, all those sort of things. You know, some Jamaican distilleries do use dunder, like Worthy Park, kind of Hamden and all that sort of stuff. But Appleton, which is kind of Ray and Nephew as well, they don't use dunder in sort of Appleton rums. So that's kind of, that as far as I know anyway, I'm pretty sure that's correct, but as far as I know. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments below. We're quite open here to education. So if you've got any more knowledge bombs, slide them into the comments below. Right, so let's get on to this. It is a blended, and as always with Jamaican rums, unsweetened. You cannot have a sweetened Jamaican rum. It's part of their GI. If you've got a rum that's, I don't know, how can I describe it? Say E&A Shear, for instance, have in Holland, they're big sort of mass blenders in that. If you're a rum company, you want to blend your own rum, you'd put in Europe, you'd probably go to E&A Shear in Holland. If your Jamaican rum comes out of them and you rebrand it and do something, yes, that can be sweetened. But rum directly from Jamaica is not sweetened, all right? Zero sugar added to it. Yes, there will be colour. We've discussed this time and time again. E150A, of course, there's going to be colourings added to it because brands have to have consistency. They have to. Shops demand it, wholesalers demand it, the consumers demand it. So they have to use colouring for consistency, but that is it. All right, so that's as far as we can go down this. So let's get into the details. Smuggler's Cove, if you're Smuggler's Cove advocates and you like the way they classify the rum, this is category 3, a blended aged rum, 8-year-old. I think that fits into there because the next one up, long aged, I would class as sort of 12, 15-year-olds. So blended aged, I think an 8-year-old fits quite nicely into there. And as I mentioned, or perhaps I haven't, £28. £28. So just to go back to that, the Signature, 22.67, so say 23, and then the 12-year-old, £38. So this sits nicely in the middle. And I have to say, I'm quite impressed by this. So let's go on to how we taste it and how we do all this. Traditionally, I use the Rum X app. Shout out to Oliver. Hey, Oliver, lovely German guy, created this app. It's in Europe. Download it if you're anywhere over Europe. But hopefully it will become to the rest of the world very, very soon. I think it is a phenomenal app. It's a brilliant way to train your palate. It's a brilliant way to join another community. It's a brilliant way to sort of look at how other people taste rums and what you can expect. And it also gives you rums, when you kind of score them, it also kind of gives you rums that may or may not be similar as well. So it's a brilliant way to help you on your rum journey. There's loads and loads of people on it as well. You create your own profile and you kind of review it. Anyway, less about that, more about the rum. Go and download it, So the first thing when we go into tasting rums, we get the colour option. So I've called this burnt umber, and there is a colour scale on it. So I've called it burnt umber. I think that's the closest one for me. Now, what can I smell? Let's get on to the old nostrils, the old whiff tests. I've made a note already. So in order of what hit me, honey first, banana, that ripe banana that's sort of inherent with Jamaican rums. Done the pits or not, it's just that ripe banana kind of vibes going off in there. Woody, barrel vibes. There is a slight sort of nod to age. Obviously, it's an 8-year-old rum, so you're going to have a little bit of sort of oak going on there. Just really, really lovely. Bit of spice, a little bit of vanilla, and right at the end, I've almost started, and this is a new one, I've sort of revisited this quite a few times over the last few months. I'm almost starting, because my nostrils, my palate is getting a little bit better, I'm almost picking up sort of nutty vibes going off there. Never really noticed that before. But almost. I'm not saying definitely. Don't ask me what sort of flipping nuts they are. I'd probably go almonds. I don't know. I generally don't know, but I've got this hint of nuttiness going on there. So, scores on the doors. The score I add in, as always, that's not on there, I like to smell something and think, oh, that's going to be sweet or not sweet. I like to be kind of, what's the word? I like to have my mind changed. I like to make up in my mind and have it changed, if you know what I mean. So, smelling that, no, absolutely not. That's rum forward. That ain't going to be sweet. So I've given that a 1. Because obviously it's rum. There's a tiny bit of sweetness to it, but that ain't going to be sweet at all. Completely different to other rums I've smelt recently and tasted recently. There's no sweetness to that at all. Fruit levels, purely because of that banana. A bit of tropical fruit in there, 3 out of 5. Floralness, yeah, very, very subtle floralness. I've gone for 2 out of 5 on that. Spices match that for me. Again, 2 out of 5. Everything else sort of matches that. I think it's a very rounded rum. So I've gone spices 2 out of 5, woody oaky notes 2 out of 5, roasted 2 out of 5, rounded 2 out of 5. For me, the emphasis has to be on that subtle nod to fruit, but everything else is there equally, if you like. If you look at the spidergram on Rumex, it's all equal for me, apart from that fruit. The fruit is up there. Really smells. The honey is the big one for me. That's the first thing I get. Honey banana just smells absolutely delicious. So let's go on to the old tasting. What can I taste? And I wasn't let down by the taste. This is another one that kind of really does taste how it smells for me. There was no shocks in there. I've had a few shocks recently, but there was no shocks in this at all. So I get honey first and foremost. Honey up front. Very quickly goes into banana. We've got other sort of the tropical kind of fruits in there. I couldn't really pick that. I'm just going tropical fruits. Maybe pineapple, maybe even something like passion fruit or something like that, but it's sort of tropical fruit vibe going on. The spice that's coming out, I actually very randomly for me kind of went, oh, there's cinnamon. And I'm not a big one at picking out sort of individual spices like that because I haven't really got the experience of doing that. But for something in me just went, oh, that's cinnamon. And I sort of stand by that, sort of the cinnamon spice in that. But yes, I've got the peppery kind of bite on there. I've got this kind of the peppery sort of hits you on the gums, hits you sort of down the palate. The oak, and there's sort of a touch of vanilla at the back. Do I taste? This is one thing I want to get across as well. And that's why I've done it. I want to do this fresh. For me, instantly tell, I wouldn't pick the ABV, but you can instantly tell it's not a 40% rum. You can instantly tell it's a bit stronger, 43%. And I kind of like that. And there's obviously a reason they've done that, because they've blended it and they thought this tastes so much better at 43 than it does 40. Or it tastes so much better at 43 than it does 46, for example. But it just kind of leaves that, it's that really lovely rum bite to it with these honey bananas. That's what I'm going to call, not banoffee, just honeyed banana kind of eat, but a little bit of sort of cinnamon spice is really, really delicious. So, going on to the scores, sweetness. So again, out of 5, the sweetness is on the Rumex for tasting, just not on smell. So I've given this a 2 out of 5 for sweetness. Now, the one thing that baffles me, and I still can't, I'd love in-depth chats with distillers and master blenders about this. I've probably heard it, but I don't really understand or appreciate it back in like a few years ago. I would love to understand how they get sweet or sweetness into rums like this when there's no sweetness added. Because that, it definitely has to be like a 2, could even be a 3 out of 5. But it's not sugar that's making that sweet. It is just the craft of the rum. And it's lovely, not cloying, just a nice kind of... The reason why I've just given it a 2 is purely because the alcohol in there at 43% does kind of rein that in. But I want to get my head and understand how a rum could be sweet or sweeter without sugar added. Is that part of the distilling? Is that part of the blending? The barrel aging? Like, what is that? Because it's flipping delicious. It's absolutely delicious. So I've given it a 2. Fruit, but right, I'm just gonna, I've scored everything 2. I think this is one of the most rounded, with nothing really punching out in one direction rums that I've tasted recently. So everything is 2. Fruit is 2, florals 2, spices is 2, woody oaky notes is 2, roasted 2, and rounded 2. The banana tropical fruits hit me, the honey hits me, the sort of cinnamon peppery spice hits me, the wood hits me. Nothing pops out for me it emphasises in any one part. So I had to give it a level playing field across. So, and just a nod on the finish, it's just there. It's that honey banana, luscious sort of peppery spiced rum on the finish. Really, really, really like that. Now, just before I go on to the scores, this is what other people have tasted on the Rumex. And there's nothing here. There's 2 things here actually that I kind of didn't pick up on here. There's one that's kind of surprised me a little bit, but the rest, no surprises. So banana, honey, vanilla, roasted, fruity, barrel, oak, fudge. I wouldn't have picked that up, and I'm still not convinced I get that now. But the one I definitely didn't pick up, and there's a few people have put this, grass, as in a nod to that grassy kind of Jamaican funky vibe, if you like. No, not a chance. I'm absolutely not getting grass notes off that. I'll be interested to know if any of you are, but I'm certainly not. That's on the nose. Anyway, on the taste, smoky. I didn't pick up smoky on here. Quite a few people have. I've not picked up smoky at all. Cinnamon. Boom. Cinnamon. God, look at me. My palate's getting there. Banana, oak, fruits, black pepper, barrel, honey and milk chocolate. I agree with everything there. Smoky. No, I don't get smokiness from it. I really don't. Interesting, but that's probably, we're looking at this, it's the most popular one that everyone's kind of picked. I don't. That's just me. So palate's getting there. But, you know, still room for improvement, of course. And the finish is pretty much the same. So, although some people have got citrus on the finish. There's a lot of banana, a lot of spices, barrel, smoky, dry and all that. But some people have got citrus. Again, I don't really get that on the finish. Now, scores on the doors out of 100. This has been just reviewed 23 times on Rumex. So not one of the most popular ones. As I say, probably because it's overlooked or forgotten about. Because you've got the 12-year-old and you've got the signature. So, there. I've given it 85. And that, bear in mind, I have to clarify, that is purely focusing on rums under £50. I appreciate when I bring more expensive rums in, they're going to be better and better. These scores kind of might not make sense then. But on this journey, out of under £50 rums, this has to be 85. This has to be a very, very, or a mid-range, very good rum. I wouldn't say it's excellent, but it's very good. It's certainly better than good. So strong 85, middle of the road, 80 to 85, 80 to 89, very good. I can't argue with that. So averaging 71 out of 100 on 23. The majority of people have put in the 70s, 70 to 79. There's a few in the 80s and 90s, and there's a few in the 40s and 50s. 40s? No, come on. It's rum geeks. It's absolutely rum geeks that give this a 40 out of 100, and 50s. It has to be rum geeks. But if you're purely looking at rums under £50, there is not a chance in hell that that is a 40 or a 50 out of 100. So I'm not having that. I'll accept the 60s, but I'm not accepting 40s. That's a way, way, way better rum than 40s. Yes, rum geeks that are used to 100, 120, 140 pound rums, yes, it might be a 40 to them. But it's certainly not in our little journey. So that's the point I'd like to make on that. Tasting, mixes, how would you drink it? Rum and Coke, rum and ginger ale. Perfect for both of those. Absolutely perfect. Quite happily order that as a rum and ginger. Quite happily have that as a rum and Coke. So Schweppes Canada Dry, Coke Zero. Happy all day long. Love those to bits. Absolutely. Daiquiri rum, rum fashioned rum punch. Again, I was going to say happy with all of them. I've got this thing, you know me by now. I'm not a huge fan of aged rum daiquiris. I know a lot of you are. It's just not for me. I do like my sort of white or light column still rum daiquiris. Not a daiquiri rum for me, but I understand how people will love that. It's not terrible. It's just not really for me. That's all. So that here, rum fashioned, delicious. I have got a tiny bit of sugar in this one. It could just to kind of sort of bring that around. I'm talking minuscule amounts of sugar in there with the Angostura bitters. Absolutely delicious. And the rum punch, again, I do like darker rums in the rum punches because I love those sort of caramel molasses, dark sugar notes going on there. But that works extremely well. You've got that sort of Jamaican vibe going on in there with it. I really, really like those. 4 out of 5 of those. Happy days. What would I buy that rum for? First off, let's just answer the questions first off. Would I replenish that rum again? Hell yes. £28, that is it value for money? That's the next question. £28, that is a flipping bargain all round usage rum. Yes, it's going to have a lot of daiquiri fans. It is. It's just not my kind of rum for a daiquiri. I've got plenty of other rums here that I would use in a daiquiri. But as an all-rounder, as a neat sipper, can you sip this neat? Hell yes. I think it's an absolutely bargain rum. Yes, I know Appleton 12. Appleton 12 is even better. But 38, what was it, £38? 20, an extra tenner? Is that worth an extra tenner? Oh, it's a tough question. Is that worth an extra tenner on top of that? I think it probably is. I think it probably is, but I tell you what, if you're just starting out, that is an absolute corker for £28.